The Game Time Network is brought to you by Matt Gaddis of State Farm, the official insurance partner of the Game Time Network. Whether it's auto, home, renters, or life insurance, Mac has you covered with trusted service and personalized support. So make sure to reach out to Matt Gaddis for all of your insurance needs. And we are also powered by our friends at Wire to the Nines. For specialists in low voltage install and repairs, if you need security systems, networking, wiring, or upgrades done right, contact Wire to the Nines at wiretothenines@yahoo.com. Big thanks to Matt Gaddis and Wire to the Nines for supporting the Game Time Network.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Game Time After Hours. We are going to get into it today, folks. Happy to have you guys here. We are going to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers in this episode. There's been a lot of conversation regarding the Lakers. I'm going to pull up some highlights. So obviously, we've got some things to talk about here today. Maybe get a look at the wider landscape of the NBA in another episode, and also the trade deadline, which is rapidly approaching. But I want to talk about the Lakers today because I'm a little frustrated. Not with the I am frustrated with the Lakers as a whole, right? They're not playing well. I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat things, right? But what I'm seeing on social media regarding the Lakers is quite annoying, to say the least, right? I think we're all reacting in a way that I just think we knew at the start of this season that this was a flawed Lakers team. So I don't understand the reaction of people when this team, I mean, they're having a bad stretch of games, right? It happens. But it's everybody saying, has Luka peaked? Luka this, Luka that, Luka's defense. We're talking about things that we already know. We know inherently that Luka is a bad defender. Nobody here is denying that he's a bad defender. I realize he's a bad defender. Austin Reeves is not a good defender. A 41-year-old LeBron James is not going to be a good defender. This team is inherently flawed. And if you ask any Laker fan that thinks that this team is capable of winning a championship, they're as delusional as Dallas Cowboy fans, and they're as delusional as Yankee fans. This is one of the most delusional fan bases in sports. But as a realistic Laker fan, I'm going to tell you right now, I never thought this team was going to win an NBA championship. I never thought it was going to get to the Western Conference Finals. I think there is a path. But I don't think they're going to get to the Western Conference Finals. I said their floor is a first-round exit. Their ceiling is probably a second-round exit at best, because you're going to have to run in to a Denver or Oklahoma City. My issue with everybody going on is everyone's talking about Luka and he's peaked and just all these blasphemous statements when it comes to Luka Dončić. And we go back to 2024, go back to when this Dallas Mavericks team got to the NBA Finals with Luka. The roster was built around Luka Dončić, and everyone's like, well, that's not the case with Tatum. That's not the case with all these other superstars around the league. The consensus of you don't have to build around them. Well, you have to build around everybody to be successful. So you do got to build around them. It's a matter of how you build around them. Have the Lakers done a good job building around Luka? No, they didn't do it well in the offseason. I think Ayton's been okay, but you do need a better lob threat center, a better defense anchor at center. This is a very flawed defensive team. We knew that coming into the year. This team has to be reworked. And the only reason it did not get reworked is I put the blame not only on Rob Pelinka, but also on LeBron James and his 1 year, $56 million contract. That is the other big flaw in this team. So to see all the blame on Luka, the one thing that we can all complain about, and that's fine, is him whining to the refs. Whatever, everybody does it. I'm not going to sit here and talk about that for 5 minutes. I think Luka is a great player. I still believe he is a top 5 NBA player. But for everybody getting on Luka, saying, has he peaked? He's not playing well. In the last 5 to 10 games, he has not played well. That's fine. Everybody has a bad stretch. But the fact of the matter is, this Laker team is going to be not all that good until changes are made. And I hate to break it to you, those changes probably don't get done at the deadline to make this team strong enough. I can continue to go on our live shows and go on our other shows and say it's going to all come down to the deadline. It's not going to all come down to the deadline. because this roster is not going to get fixed at the deadline unless one man is traded, and that is LeBron James. You have to trade LeBron. You have to free up this money to fix this roster heading into the offseason. You need to make moves at the deadline to set yourself up to fix this team at the deadline. It's simple as that. Maybe you trade Austin Reeves, but you have to figure out the starting lineup and the bench. The bench isn't all that bad. It needs some work, but you got to get the starting five figured out because you need a better defensive fit around Luka Dončić. Because the best thing about the Mavericks was what? You could mask Luka behind that defense. LA is going to have to do the same thing. And Laker fans are in a weird spot because their star player is usually very good on the offensive side of the ball and also pretty good on the defensive side of the ball. That is just not the case right now. You traded your best defensive player who has been notably injury prone and everything else going on with them for an offensive one-man show. Simple as that. He's a generational offensive one-man show, but he is an offensive one-man show. That's the best way to describe Luka Dončić. He's an offensive one-man show. He's got great court awareness. He can find open shooters like he does right there with LeBron for three. But this roster has to get figured out. And, everyone's like, oh, is he really a top 5 player? Is this his peak? No, this is not Luka Dončić's peak. He will play better as the season continues to go forward. I'm not worried about this Lakers roster because what is there to be worried about? What are we all complaining about? That the roster needs improvements? We've known this since the offseason. The roster wasn't going to – when you trade your best defensive asset for a generational offensive asset, clearly the defense will tank. And the moves that were made in the offseason did not help that at all. So what are we sitting here complaining about? The Lakers had a great start to the season. We get to the middle of the year and they're starting to look a little shaky. Okay. What are we expecting from this roster? Genuine Laker fans, what are you expecting from this roster? Did you expect the championship run? I get it. We're sitting in top 5 in the West. That's pretty. It's pretty to look at. I certainly don't want to be having a losing record and saying, well, I want a draft pick. No, I don't want a draft pick. I want to win. I want to see us play competitive basketball because at the end of the day, this team is good enough to be successful. But I am also smart enough to realize this roster is not going to be able to be championship competitive by the deadline or after the deadline. You're going to have to make moves in the offseason, make this roster better. I know this is hard for Laker fans to hear, but you're going to have to be a little patient for this roster to get figured out. And I've been hard on Rob Pelinka. I don't think he's that good of a general manager. He's probably in the bottom half of general managers. But the simple fact of the matter is that we are going to have to wait because not everything is going to get solved at the deadline. You can't make this roster better defensively with a couple moves at the deadline. You can make it slightly better, but you're not going to change your priorities because here's the simple fact of the matter is you're not trading LeBron and AR both at the deadline. And probably neither of them get moved if you want me to be quite frankly honest. Don't set your expectations sky high for them to get bombed come the deadline because this team may not even get moved at the deadline. They may say, let's just sit with what we got and see how the season goes. And honestly, I'm not opposed to that. Make yourself flexible in the offseason, right? Ayton's on a 1-year deal. Bron's on a 1-year deal. We'll see what they do with AR, right? AR could get moved at the deadline. He's probably the more realistic option at the deadline. Rui, right? It's not – I have been saying on the show that this team needs to make moves at the deadline if they want to be competitive. If this team does not want to be competitive this season, what is the big problem with that? Everybody is like, oh, well, we've got Luka. We got to go win now. We got to go win now. We got to go win now. He just signed an extension. There is no rush to win right now. We traded our best defensive asset to acquire him. Let's calm down and see how things play out. Let's get to the deadline. Let's get past the deadline. Let's get to the offseason. And then if the moves aren't made correctly, then we can gash the Lakers organization. But for right now, enjoy the basketball that's being played because honestly, it's not going to get much better regardless of what we do at the deadline unless you get gifted a Hail Mary like you did with Luka last season. So I'm not going to stay on here long because that's not the point of the after hour show. It's to be on here for about 10, 15 minutes and give my honest thoughts on LA. But we have to specifically Laker fans, we have to settle down a little bit, because if you thought that this season was a championship winning season with a 41-year-old LeBron James and a roster that is really, 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 really bad on defense, your expectations were way too high for this season. My expectations have been the same since the offseason. Maybe a Western Conference Finals, but very, very slim. Second round, possible, but you lose in the second round. You can lose in the first round. And the way that this team's played in the last 5 to 10 games, it looks like, yeah, you probably lose in the first round because you're not playing well. And when you get to the playoffs, you know, I've talked about it with Daryl. I've talked about it on this show. People are going to defend when they're going to set Luka and Austin Reeves in those actions when they're on defense. They're going to make them in the primary actions, make them have to decision make, and it's going to be on the Lakers to play better defense. Because at the end of the day, the best this team can do is show effort, and Luka's not showing that much effort on the defensive side of the ball. I sat on and defended Luka, but don't get it twisted. He has to be better on the defensive side of the ball, and he's got to stop whining and complaining and everything else. That has to stop too. It's not going to stop, but everybody should know what has been signed up for. So why are we 30 games into the season, 25 games into the season, and now all of a sudden we're complaining about the player that we knew we were getting? Right? Why are we? Well, I mean, man, he's just such a bad defender. You didn't know this? You didn't know this? Because I get it, 80% of the fan base is casuals, and that's exactly what most of you Laker fans are casuals. No, he doesn't play defense. But why did he get to the finals? Because they masked that around him. They had Lively, they had Gafford, they had guys that could play defense to mask his flaws. It's simple as that. This team is not built around him yet. Give it time. Let the roster be built around him. The roster can't be built around him when you've got one guy on $56 million holding up that much money for 1 year. So be patient. I know that's a lot to ask from Laker fans, but you're going to have to be patient, and Luka's not going nowhere. So be patient, see how things play out. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but you're going to have to trust Rob Pelinka a little bit. I don't buy him. I don't trust him that much. But what other choice do you got, right? We'll make the playoffs. More than likely, we'll make the playoffs. I'm pulling up the standings right now. I'm not going to put them on screen for you. Lakers are 5th in the West, right? They're 1 game behind the Rockets, who are 21-10. The Lakers are 20-11. They're 1 game ahead of, or about 1.5 games above Minnesota. They're trailing by Denver by 3 games, more like 2.5 maybe. And obviously, you're not catching San Antonio and the Spurs. So everybody just needs to calm down, right? You know, everybody talking about, has Luka peaked? Really? Has Luka peaked? Are we serious? He's not playing well. We'll let it ride. Everybody's got to be patient. The roster will get fixed. Folks, that's going to do it. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the Lakers and the rest of the NBA as a whole. We've got more NBA after hours content coming up. I'm going to be a little more consistent with this. We've been busy with some other stuff, business aspects of the show. But Game Time After Hours, one of the most successful shows on our network. So make sure to keep liking and subscribing, and I will see you guys next time for another episode of Game Time After Hours. See you guys then.